Disclaimer: the information provided in this comprehensive presentation is strictly for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only and absolutely does not constitute professional financial, legal, tax, or investment advice. Purchasing a motor vehicle, securing automotive financing, and utilizing military or veteran-specific discount programs involve legally binding contracts, rapidly fluctuating interest rates, and highly specific eligibility criteria that vary significantly by automotive manufacturer, lending institution, and individual credit history. While we will thoroughly analyze historical trends, examine detailed case studies, and explore the potential outcomes of utilizing various veteran auto buying programs, these examples do not represent assured results. The automotive market is highly volatile, and financial institutions frequently update their underwriting guidelines and promotional offers without prior notice. Viewers are strongly advised to conduct their own exhaustive due diligence, meticulously read all terms and conditions within any financial agreement, and consult with a certified financial planner, legal professional, or authorized veteran service officer before making any substantial financial decisions, signing a purchase order, or entering into an auto loan agreement. Reliance on any information provided in this presentation is solely at your own risk. Imagine returning home after years of dedicated, grueling service to your country, finally ready to transition back into civilian life and purchase a reliable vehicle for your family, only to walk into a local car dealership and be systematically taken advantage of by a highly trained, predatory finance manager. This is not some rare, hypothetical worst-case scenario. It is a harsh, mathematically quantifiable reality playing out on showroom floors across the United States every single day. Recent industry analyses and consumer protection data reveal a deeply troubling trend. A significant percentage of military veterans and active duty personnel end up paying substantially higher interest rates and thousands of dollars more for personal vehicles than their civilian counterparts. This happens despite the existence of exclusive, highly lucrative, multi-million-dollar discount programs specifically designed and funded by major automakers to prevent this exact financial exploitation. Why does this systemic failure occur? Because the modern automotive retail industry is fundamentally structured around information asymmetry. The less actionable intelligence you possess about the true cost of a vehicle and the specific mechanisms of military rebates, the higher the dealership's gross profit margin becomes. There is a pervasive and financially dangerous misconception circulating within the veteran community that simply walking into a dealership, shaking a salesperson's hand, and presenting a military identification card or a DD Form 214 will automatically compel the dealership to offer you their absolute best bottom-line price. This assumption is completely false and incredibly costly. Relying on a commissioned sales representative to voluntarily disclose the full, unadulterated extent of your veteran financial benefits is arguably one of the most devastating financial miscalculations a consumer can make. Let us examine a recent case study illustrating this exact phenomenon. Consider a veteran who recently purchased a popular, full-size domestic pickup truck. By failing to understand the strict chronological order required to stack a specific manufacturer's military cash rebate with a pre-negotiated credit union auto buying service price, and by allowing the dealership to arrange the financing at a marked-up interest rate, this individual unknowingly surrendered over $5,000 in completely preventable costs. That is $5,000 of hard-earned wealth evaporated in a matter of hours, entirely due to a lack of awareness regarding the complex, deeply buried architecture of veteran auto buying protocols. But what if there was a completely different way to approach this transaction? What if there existed a hidden, highly structured ecosystem of military discounts, specialized financing rates restricted entirely to the veteran community, and pre-negotiated invoice pricing structures that the vast majority of automotive dealerships actively hope you never discover? What if there was a methodical step-by-step approach to vehicle acquisition that completely neutralizes the high-pressure psychological tactics deployed in the finance and insurance office? By the end of this deep dive masterclass, we are going to expose the precise inner workings of these closely guarded programs. We are going to reveal a specific procedural loophole involving military-affiliated auto buying services that effectively forces the dealership to reveal their true, rock-bottom price before you even step foot on their physical lot. We are opening a critical loop today that will fundamentally alter your understanding of large-scale consumer finance. If you are a veteran, an active duty service member, a reservist, or an eligible family member, the intricate data we are about to unpack represents the exact difference between driving off the dealership lot with a heavily depreciating liability that drains your monthly cash flow, and strategically securing a heavily subsidized asset that honors and respects your military service. The core, fundamental problem facing United States veterans in the current automotive marketplace is not a scarcity of available discount programs. Rather, it is a profound systemic lack of centralized, actionable intelligence on how to legally, effectively, and strategically combine these benefits to achieve maximum financial leverage. Today, we are solving that exact problem comprehensively and decisively for the U.S. audience. This presentation is not a superficial, high-level summary. This is a highly detailed, tactical, and operational blueprint, meticulously designed to arm you with the precise knowledge required to dominate the modern car buying landscape. We are going to systematically dismantle the incredibly complex, often opaque ecosystem of automotive financing and military incentives piece by piece, leaving no stone unturned. You are going to learn exactly which major global automotive manufacturers offer the most aggressive, verified veteran cash rebates, and infinitely more important, you will learn the strict rules of engagement required to claim them without accidentally invalidating other active promotional offers, such as 0% financing or lease cash incentives. We will analytically dissect the critical differences between standard, heavily marked up dealership financing, and the exclusive, heavily regulated auto loans provided by military-focused credit unions. By examining historical trends, we will demonstrate exactly how securing an annual percentage rate that is merely 1 or 2 points lower can easily translate to thousands of dollars in retained capital over the life cycle of a standard 60 or 72-month auto loan. Furthermore, we will delve deeply into the highly specialized, often misunderstood world of overseas military car buying programs, detailing precisely how veterans who are currently deployed or have recently returned can leverage these unique, direct-from-manufacturer logistical channels to completely bypass standard dealership markups, destination charges, and artificial market adjustments. You will be thoroughly equipped with the precise industry terminology and negotiation frameworks needed to command absolute respect and authority in any showroom environment. When you implement the sophisticated strategies outlined in this extensive masterclass, you will instantly transition from being a vulnerable target for high-margin, deceptive sales tactics into a highly informed, mathematically driven consumer executing a calculated, heavily researched financial transaction. We will also provide extensively detailed case studies demonstrating how specific veterans have successfully layered and stacked manufacturer rebates, dealership-specific military cash bonuses, and specialized, state-level tax exemptions to dramatically and legally lower their total out-of-pocket costs. This material provides a clear window into the potential outcomes of aggressive, fully informed consumer negotiation. Crucially, you will discover how to instantly identify the glaring red flags of predatory military lending. This is a multi-million-dollar shadow industry that aggressively and shamelessly targets young service members and newly separated veterans with exorbitantly high-interest loans, aggressively structured to look like patriotic financial assistance. We are handing you the ultimate, impenetrable defensive shield against these ruinous financial practices. Furthermore, we will explore the incredibly vital, yet rarely discussed, automotive benefits available specifically for disabled veterans, including a deep dive into the Department of Veterans Affairs Automobile Allowance and Adaptive Equipment Grants. We will map out exactly how to navigate that bureaucratic process to secure crucial funding for modified vehicles. Whether you are actively in the market for a dependable, fuel-efficient daily commuter, a heavy-duty work truck for a new civilian career, or a highly specialized mobility vehicle adapted for service-connected disabilities, the rigid protocols and analytical frameworks we establish right here will be your permanent guiding light. We are permanently solving the anxiety, the financial uncertainty, and the immense capital bleed traditionally associated with buying a car as a veteran. This masterclass is designed to become your new standard operating procedure for any automotive acquisition moving forward, ensuring beyond any shadow of a doubt that your dedicated military service translates directly and forcefully into tangible, undeniable financial power at the negotiation table. To wield this power effectively, we must first dismantle the biggest illusion in the automotive industry, which is the window sticker itself. The manufacturer-suggested retail price is a carefully engineered psychological anchor, designed to establish an artificially high baseline for all subsequent negotiations. To understand how to bypass this anchor, we must examine the fundamental difference between manufacturer incentives and dealership discounts. This distinction is the bedrock of intelligent car buying for veterans. Major automotive manufacturers operate on a national level, and they allocate massive budgets specifically for military appreciation programs. This money comes directly from the corporate headquarters, completely bypassing the local franchise dealership. These are direct-to-consumer cash allowances that the dealership has absolutely no ownership over. Yet a shockingly high number of aggressive finance managers will attempt to bake these corporate rebates into their own profit margins if you do not explicitly demand them and verify their application on the final buyer order. Imagine if you walked into a showroom and the salesperson generously offered to take $1,000 off the price of the vehicle to thank you for your service. On the surface, this feels like a victory. However, historical trends and consumer advocacy case studies reveal a much darker reality. In many instances, the salesperson is simply applying the manufacturer military rebate that you were already legally entitled to receive, while offering absolutely zero discount from the dealership's own front-end gross profit. They are using your own veteran benefit to simulate a negotiation, leaving their profit margin entirely untouched. To combat this deceptive practice, you must learn to aggressively separate the transaction into isolated components. Let us look at a practical application using a highly relevant scenario for the year 2026. Consider a United States Army veteran named Robert, who is currently navigating the highly volatile post-pandemic automotive landscape to purchase a family SUV. Robert understands that to achieve the best potential outcomes, he must completely separate the price of the vehicle from his military status during the initial phases of the transaction. Robert approaches multiple dealerships online, utilizing dedicated digital retail platforms, and negotiates the absolute lowest baseline price for the vehicle based strictly on local market supply and the dealer invoice price. He does not mention his veteran status, his potential trade-in, or his financing plans. He forces the dealerships into a bidding war solely on the metal itself. Once Robert has secured a legally binding digital buyer order reflecting a heavily discounted baseline price, only then does he introduce his active military credentials. By introducing his verified DD Form 214 and a current leave and earnings statement at this exact moment, Robert legally forces the dealership to stack the corporate military rebate directly on top of the already decimated baseline price. If Robert had mentioned his military status in his very first email, the dealership would have undoubtedly factored that corporate cash into their initial quote, severely limiting his overall financial leverage. This concept of rebate stacking is a crucial skill set. You must meticulously research the specific manufacturer website before ever initiating contact with a local franchise. You must print out the exact terms, conditions, and program codes for the active military incentive. In 2026, many manufacturers require veterans to verify their identity through third-party encrypted portals like IDAMI. Before issuing a unique certificate number, you must have this alphanumeric code generated, printed, and in your possession. Do not rely on the dealership personnel to navigate these verification portals on your behalf, as they are highly incentivized to claim the system is down, or that you do not meet the strict eligibility criteria if it complicates their standard sales process. Furthermore, we must deeply analyze the role of military-affiliated credit unions and their highly specialized auto buying services. Organizations designed to serve the armed forces have spent decades cultivating massive networks of pre-screened, authorized dealership contacts. When you utilize an auto buying program through a major military financial institution, you are fundamentally altering the power dynamic of the purchase. You are no longer an isolated consumer fighting a multi-million-dollar retail corporation. You are suddenly backed by the institutional leverage of an entity that finances billions of dollars in automotive assets annually. These programs often provide pre-negotiated, transparent pricing structures that legally obligate participating dealerships to honor specific discounts below the manufacturer invoice price. However, the true financial power of these institutions lies in their back-end financing capabilities. The most devastating financial trap waiting for veterans is the dealership finance and insurance office. Dealerships secure wholesale interest rates from major banks, and then legally mark up those interest rates before presenting them to the consumer. This practice, known as dealer reserve, can silently add thousands of dollars in hidden interest charges over the life of a standard 72-month auto loan. To neutralize this threat, you must never step onto a dealership lot without an independent, pre-approved blank check from a military credit union. Case studies consistently show that veterans who secure their own financing prior to negotiation secure interest rates that are drastically lower than those offered by dealership finance managers. You walk in as a cash buyer. You present your pre-approval, you negotiate the price of the metal, you stack your corporate military rebates, and you sign the draft. You completely remove the dealership's ability to manipulate your monthly payment by extending the loan term or hiding inflated interest rates. But what happens when you perfectly execute all of these preliminary steps, secure your outside financing, lock in your corporate military rebates, and finally sit down in the closing room, only to have the finance manager slide a completely different piece of paper across the desk? What happens when they present the infamous Foursquare worksheet and attempt to systematically dismantle every single financial safeguard you have just established by introducing mandatory protective coatings, heavily inflated extended service contracts, and phantom digital security fees? The battle is far from over once the price of the vehicle is agreed upon. In fact, the most mathematically dangerous phase of the entire transaction is just beginning, and understanding how to counter these specific backroom tactics is the only way to protect your newly acquired equity. Most mathematically dangerous phase of the entire transaction is just beginning, and understanding how to counter these specific backroom tactics is the only way to protect your newly acquired equity. Welcome to the Finance and Insurance Office, universally known in the automotive industry as the F&I department. While the showroom floor is designed to build emotional attachment to a vehicle, the F&I office is a highly engineered, psychologically optimized environment designed strictly for maximum profit extraction. Many consumers fundamentally misunderstand the business model of a modern automotive dealership. They assume the primary profit center is the gross margin on the vehicle itself. However, industry data consistently demonstrates that dealerships often generate significantly more net profit from the sale of back-end financial products, extended service contracts, and manipulated interest rates than they do from the actual sale of the metal. As a veteran, you are heavily targeted in this room because military personnel are statistically perceived as possessing steady, reliable government incomes, making them highly attractive candidates for bloated loan structures. To defend yourself, you must first understand the primary weapon deployed in this environment, which is the dreaded Foursquare worksheet. The Foursquare is a psychological distraction tool designed to systematically confuse the buyer by dividing the transaction into four interconnected, moving parts: the vehicle sale price, the trade-in value, the cash down payment, and the monthly payment. Imagine if you were trying to solve a complex mathematical equation, but every time you focused on one variable, someone intentionally altered the other three. This is exactly how the Foursquare operates. Let us examine a highly relevant case study set in the current economic climate of 2026. Consider a United States Air Force veteran named Sarah. Sarah has meticulously researched a hybrid commuter car, successfully negotiated a steep discount below the manufacturer's suggested retail price, and explicitly stacked her exclusive military cash rebates. She walks into the F&I office feeling victorious, believing the negotiation is entirely over. The finance manager congratulates her, shakes her hand, and then slides a completely new piece of paper across the desk. It is a Foursquare worksheet. The manager completely ignores the deeply discounted out-the-door price Sarah just negotiated, and instead directs her attention solely to the bottom right corner, the monthly payment. The finance manager notices Sarah is uncomfortable with a $500 monthly payment, so he smoothly offers a solution. He magically lowers her monthly payment to $420. Sarah feels relieved and signs the contract, believing she has secured an incredible victory. However, a detailed post-purchase forensic analysis of the contract reveals a devastating financial reality. The finance manager did not discount the vehicle any further. Instead, he simply extended the loan term from 60 months to 84 months, and subtly increased the annual percentage rate by 2 full points. Furthermore, because the new extended loan term stretched the payments out so far, the manager bundled in a heavily marked-up extended warranty and a predatory gap insurance policy, claiming they were necessary to protect her investment over the longer duration. Sarah walked into the office with a tightly negotiated asset and walked out with a deeply underwater liability, ultimately paying nearly $8,000 more in total interest and phantom products over the life of the loan. This scenario highlights the absolute necessity of maintaining a singular, unwavering focus on the out-the-door price. The out-the-door price is the absolute final, mathematically complete number that includes the vehicle price, destination charges, document fees, and state-local taxes, minus your military rebates and down payment. When the finance manager attempts to shift the conversation to monthly payments, you must forcefully pivot the dialogue back to the total capitalized cost. You must state clearly and unequivocally that you are a cash buyer or a pre-approved buyer, and you are only negotiating the final bottom line number. The next layer of the F&I defense strategy requires identifying and systematically eliminating high-margin, zero-value add-ons. Dealerships routinely preload vehicles with heavily inflated accessories before they even hit the lot. You will see line items for nitrogen-filled tires, which is a completely unnecessary upcharge, given that the standard atmosphere we breathe is already composed of nearly 80% nitrogen. You will encounter fees for VIN etching, a process where the vehicle identification number is etched into the glass to deter theft. Dealerships will routinely charge upwards of $400 for this service, despite the fact that you can purchase a do-it-yourself kit online for under $20. You will face aggressive presentations for interior fabric protection and exterior paint sealants, which are often nothing more than standard chemical sprays applied by a minimum wage lot attendant, marked up by thousands of %. As a highly informed veteran consumer, you must aggressively demand that these phantom fees be completely stripped from the buyer order. If the dealership refuses, citing a mandatory store policy, you must be fully prepared to walk away from the table. Your willingness to walk away is your ultimate leverage. We must also deeply analyze the mechanics of gap insurance and extended vehicle service contracts. Guaranteed Asset Protection, or GAP, is a legitimate financial product designed to cover the difference between what you owe on your loan and the actual cash value of the vehicle if it is totaled in an accident. Because vehicles depreciate rapidly, and because veterans sometimes roll negative equity from a previous trade-in into a new loan, GAP coverage can be a mathematically sound safeguard. However, purchasing GAP insurance directly from a dealership finance manager is almost always a catastrophic financial error. Dealerships routinely mark up GAP policies by 300 to 400%. If you require GAP coverage, historical trends indicate that you can purchase the exact same protection directly through your military credit union or your primary auto insurance provider for a fraction of the cost, often for just a few dollars a month added to your premium. Similarly, extended service contracts are highly lucrative profit centers for the dealership. While protecting your vehicle against catastrophic mechanical failure is a valid concern, particularly given the extreme complexity of modern automotive computers and drivetrains, the warranties sold in the F&I office are heavily negotiable and often packed with exclusionary clauses that deny coverage for common failures. If you decide an extended warranty aligns with your long-term risk tolerance, you must independently research third-party exclusionary policies backed by major financial institutions before entering the dealership. You can use these external quotes to force the finance manager to drastically reduce the price of their in-house offering, or simply purchase the coverage elsewhere. By neutralizing the Foursquare worksheet, eliminating phantom accessories, and securing back-end financial products at wholesale cost, you successfully protect the massive discounts you achieved on the showroom floor. You have effectively closed the primary avenues of dealership exploitation. But what if there was an entirely different, incredibly powerful dimension of financial leverage available exclusively to veterans that bypasses the dealership entirely? What if certain states offered massive permanent tax exemptions on vehicle purchases that could instantly save you thousands of dollars at the Department of Motor Vehicles? And what if there were massive federal grants designed specifically to purchase fully adapted vehicles for service-connected disabilities, completely free and clear of any auto loan? The depth of these state and federal programs is staggering, and failing to understand their strict application protocols is leaving massive amounts of government capital on the table. Now that we have thoroughly analyzed the critical defenses required to survive the finance and insurance office and referenced essential educational resources like the one just mentioned, it is time to fundamentally shift our operational focus. We are moving away from the private retail sector and stepping directly into the realm of state and federal legislative benefits. This is where the mathematical scale of your military service truly begins to separate you from the civilian consumer market. While negotiating a dealership discount is a tactical victory, leveraging state tax exemptions and federal disability grants represents a massive, strategic acquisition of capital. Historical trends indicate that an alarming number of eligible veterans completely miss these specific benefits simply because they assume all military perks are automatically applied at the point of sale. This is a profound misconception. State departments of motor vehicles and the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs operate on highly rigid, application-based protocols. If you do not actively initiate the exact paperwork, the funds remain locked away permanently. Let us deeply examine the massive potential outcomes associated with state-level automotive tax exemptions. Every single state maintains its own unique, highly specific legislative code regarding veteran vehicle taxation, registration fees, and annual ad valorem taxes. Depending on your exact geographical location and your official disability rating, the financial implications can be staggering. Consider a detailed case study set in the current economic landscape of 2026. Imagine a United States Marine Corps veteran named Michael, who resides in the state of Texas and holds a 100% service-connected disability rating. Michael is purchasing a heavily depreciated pre-owned truck for $40,000. A civilian purchasing that exact same vehicle would be legally required to pay a state motor vehicle sales tax of 6.25%, instantly adding $2,500 of dead weight to the final transaction. However, because Michael thoroughly researched the Texas State Comptroller guidelines prior to the purchase, he completely bypasses this massive tax burden. By properly executing and submitting the specific motor vehicle tax exemption forms directly to the county tax assessor collector at the time of titling, Michael legally retains that entire $2,500 in his own bank account. But the state-level benefits do not stop at the point of sale. Imagine if you lived in a state that levies a heavy annual property tax or excise tax on motor vehicles. In states with exceptionally high vehicle property taxes, a civilian might pay several hundred or even over $1,000 every single year just for the privilege of parking their car in their own driveway. Historical trends show that many states offer total or partial exemptions on these annual taxes for veterans with specific service-connected disabilities, or for those who have been awarded specific citations, such as the Purple Heart. You must aggressively audit your local State Department of Revenue website immediately. You must cross-reference your specific military discharge status and your official Veterans Affairs rating with the current state statutes. Do not rely on the clerk at the local tax office to volunteer this critical information, as they are often completely unaware of the intricate nuances of veteran tax law. It is your absolute responsibility to secure the proper documentation, usually a summary of benefits letter directly from the VA, and present it definitively when registering your vehicle. Now we must transition to one of the most powerful, life-altering, and heavily underutilized federal programs in existence for disabled veterans. We are talking about the Department of Veterans Affairs Automobile Allowance and Adaptive Equipment Program. This is not a discount. This is not a manufacturer rebate. This is a direct, substantial financial grant from the federal government specifically designed to facilitate mobility for veterans who have sustained severe, life-altering injuries in the line of duty. To understand the sheer magnitude of this program, we must break down its two distinct operational components. The first component is the automobile allowance itself. For eligible veterans, the VA will pay a highly significant sum directly toward the purchase price of an automobile, light truck, tractor, or specially adapted van. This figure is adjusted periodically by Congress, but it represents tens of thousands of dollars in direct, non-taxable purchasing power. However, the eligibility criteria for this specific federal grant are exceptionally rigid. This is not a program for a general disability rating. To unlock these potential outcomes, the veteran must have a service-connected disability that involves the loss or permanent loss of use of one or both hands, the loss or permanent loss of use of one or both feet, or a severe permanent impairment of vision in both eyes meeting strict clinical definitions. Furthermore, veterans suffering from severe burn injuries or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis may also qualify under specific, fast-track protocols. The procedural execution of this grant is where most veterans make catastrophic financial errors. You cannot simply go to a dealership, buy a car, and then mail the receipt to the VA asking for a reimbursement. That is a mathematically guaranteed path to a financial disaster. The absolute first step, long before you even begin browsing inventory online, is to formally apply for the Certificate of Eligibility using VA Form 21 to 4502. You must submit this documentation to your regional VA office and wait for their official stamped approval. Once you possess this highly guarded document, you have effectively acquired a government-backed voucher. You then present this specific form to the dealership. The dealership, after completing their designated portion of the paperwork, submits the entire package directly to the VA, and the federal government pays the dealership directly. You are effectively using federal capital to wipe out a massive portion of the vehicle retail price. The second, equally vital component of this program is the Adaptive Equipment Grant. While the automobile allowance is generally a once-in-a-lifetime benefit, the adaptive equipment portion is completely separate and can often be utilized multiple times as your vehicle ages or as your medical needs evolve. This grant covers the exorbitant costs associated with physically modifying the vehicle to ensure you can safely operate it or enter and exit it as a passenger. We are talking about the installation of highly complex power steering modifications, specialized hand controls for braking and acceleration, mechanized wheelchair lifts, lowered floor pan conversions, and heavily reinforced power seating. The cost of these complex mechanical modifications can easily exceed the baseline cost of the vehicle itself. Before the VA will authorize the payout for the adaptive equipment, they require a meticulous, clinically driven process. You cannot simply choose the modifications you believe you need. You must schedule a comprehensive evaluation with a certified driver rehabilitation specialist, typically located at a major VA medical center. This specialist will rigorously test your reaction times, your peripheral vision, your upper body strength, and your cognitive processing speeds using highly advanced simulation technology. Based on this exhaustive clinical data, they will write a highly specific, legally binding prescription detailing the exact mechanical modifications your new vehicle requires. This prescription is the golden key. It dictates precisely what the VA will fund. If you attempt to install aftermarket equipment outside of this prescribed list, you will be entirely financially responsible for the unauthorized modifications. You must treat this process with the same level of seriousness as a major medical procedure. The timeline from the initial application to the final delivery of a fully adapted mobility van can easily stretch from 6 to 12 months. This historical trend emphasizes why immediate, proactive engagement with your regional veteran service officer is absolutely critical to prevent your application from languishing in a bureaucratic holding pattern. By combining the immense purchasing power of the VA automobile grant with a heavily researched, zero-tax state registration strategy, you are achieving the absolute maximum potential outcomes of your military benefits. To master this specific logistical challenge, you must turn your attention to the officially authorized military exchange car buying programs, which operate under strict government contracts and are structurally integrated with the Army and Air Force Exchange Service, as well as the Navy Exchange. These highly specialized overseas automotive networks represent a completely isolated, federally sanctioned marketplace that is entirely inaccessible to the general public. They exist for one singular purpose, which is to provide active duty military personnel, diplomatic staff, and authorized government contractors stationed outside the continental United States with a transparent, highly regulated pipeline to purchase American specification vehicles. The fundamental architecture of these overseas programs completely eradicates the traditional dealership model. When you engage with this system, you are not negotiating with a commissioned salesperson on a physical lot who is desperately trying to clear aging inventory before the end of the month. Instead, you are interfacing directly with a dedicated factory representative to initiate a custom, built-to-order manufacturing sequence. Imagine if you were permanently stationed in a foreign country, heavily engaged in complex daily operations, and you suddenly received orders for a permanent change of station back to the United States in 6 months. The traditional civilian approach would require you to wait until you physically arrive back in the States, secure temporary lodging, rent an incredibly expensive vehicle out of pocket, and then hastily rush from dealership to dealership trying to find a suitable family vehicle while actively battling aggressive finance managers. The potential outcomes of that rushed, highly stressful scenario almost always involve massive financial overpayment and severe buyer remorse. The overseas military buying program completely neutralizes this chaos. By engaging the program while still deployed, you are granted the extraordinary ability to custom configure your vehicle down to the exact engine displacement, interior stitching, and technology packages, completely bypassing the severe inventory shortages and arbitrary dealership markups that plague the domestic retail market. This process introduces one of the most powerful financial defense mechanisms in the entire automotive industry, which is absolute price protection. Historical trends demonstrate that automotive manufacturers routinely implement mid-year price increases on their vehicles due to fluctuating raw material costs and inflation. Furthermore, lucrative factory rebates change from month to month. When you order a vehicle through the authorized overseas military channel, your baseline negotiated price is instantly locked in by a legally binding contract. If the manufacturer decides to increase the base price of that specific model while your vehicle is currently traveling down the assembly line, you are entirely shielded from that increase. However, the true genius of this program is its downward flexibility. If the manufacturer announces a brand new, highly aggressive military cash rebate or a promotional interest rate exactly at the time your vehicle is finally delivered stateside, the program automatically applies the new, lower pricing structure to your final contract. You are structurally protected against inflation, while simultaneously positioned to capture the absolute maximum potential discounts right at the moment of delivery. Let us examine a highly detailed case study set in the complex global logistics environment of 2026. Consider a United States Navy petty officer named David, currently stationed in Yokosuka, Japan. David is scheduled to return to a naval base in California in 8 months. He requires a highly capable heavy-duty domestic truck to tow a travel trailer for his family. If David were to purchase a similar vehicle locally on the Japanese economy, he would immediately face catastrophic hurdles. He would be buying a right-hand drive vehicle that does not meet United States Department of Transportation safety standards or Environmental Protection Agency emissions protocols. To bring that foreign market vehicle back to California, David would be forced to pay independent importers tens of thousands of dollars to extensively modify the crash structures and exhaust systems to federally legalize the vehicle, a process that completely destroys the mechanical integrity of the truck and immediately voids all manufacturer warranties. Instead, David utilizes the authorized overseas military exchange program directly from his base in Japan. He custom orders a United States specification truck, specifically designed for the North American market, at a rigidly pre-negotiated price that sits significantly below the standard factory invoice. He applies his exclusive overseas military rebates. He secures his financing through a military-affiliated credit union online. The manufacturer builds the truck at a plant in the American Midwest, places it on a dedicated transport rail car, and ships it to a participating, authorized delivery dealership located exactly 5 miles from his new duty station in California. When David steps off his commercial flight, his custom-built, fully federalized, heavily discounted truck is sitting at the dealership, fully prepped and waiting for his signature. The local California dealership cannot arbitrarily add market adjustment fees or force David to purchase interior protection packages because they do not own the vehicle. They are merely acting as a highly regulated logistical delivery agent for the overseas program. Furthermore, this pathway guarantees the absolute preservation of the global manufacturer warranty. Purchasing an American brand vehicle through unauthorized foreign dealers often results in a geographical warranty restriction, meaning the manufacturer will refuse to honor major engine or transmission repairs once the vehicle is shipped back to the United States. Vehicles purchased through the official military pipeline are coded within the global manufacturer databases to ensure that your comprehensive bumper-to-bumper warranty and your powertrain coverage remain entirely intact and legally enforceable at any franchise dealership across the entire United States. You have systematically eliminated the stress of the physical hunt, eradicated the threat of localized dealership markups, secured rock-bottom factory pricing, and completely bypassed the immense dangers of importing non-compliant foreign vehicles. You are utilizing the vast logistical weight of the United States military exchange system to force the global automotive supply chain to bend to your specific timeline. You have now mastered the art of the direct manufacturer negotiation. You have learned how to aggressively stack corporate military rebates, completely dismantle the psychological warfare of the dealership finance office, aggressively leverage permanent state-level tax exemptions, navigate the bureaucratic complexities of federal disability grants, and completely bypass the domestic retail market through international military supply chains. You are armed with the precise mathematical strategies required to execute a flawless automotive acquisition from a position of absolute, unyielding financial strength. But what happens if the very foundation of your financial profile has been deeply compromised? What if a difficult transition to civilian life, a sudden loss of active duty income, or a series of medical emergencies has resulted in a severely fractured credit score? What happens when you apply these incredibly sophisticated negotiation tactics, only to have the traditional banking system unequivocally deny your application for a prime auto loan? In those moments of vulnerability, you become the primary target for a shadowy, highly predatory sector of the automotive industry specifically designed to exploit military personnel with damaged credit histories. How do you secure reliable transportation to rebuild your civilian career when ruthless subprime lenders are legally permitted to charge interest rates that will mathematically guarantee your financial ruin? And what specific federal laws exist to protect you from this exact exploitation? Subprime lenders are legally permitted to charge interest rates that will mathematically ensure your financial ruin. And what specific federal laws exist to protect you from this exact exploitation? The harsh, uncompromising reality of the year 2026 is that the moment you officially transition from active duty to veteran status, a massive invisible federal shield drops, leaving you highly exposed to the predatory subprime automotive market. While you were serving, you were heavily protected by the Military Lending Act, a federal statute that strictly caps interest rates at 36% and expressly bans countless predatory lending practices for active personnel. However, historical trends consistently reveal a devastating gap in consumer awareness within the veteran community. Countless separated service members mistakenly believe these powerful federal protections follow them permanently into civilian life. They absolutely do not. The precise instant your discharge paperwork is processed, you are legally reclassified as a standard civilian consumer, completely vulnerable to standard, unregulated subprime market forces where interest rates can legally soar into the high 20s or even 30s depending on your specific state jurisdiction. Imagine if you are driving down the main commercial avenue located just outside the gates of any major military installation in the United States. You will invariably observe an endless row of independent used car lots, heavily draped in massive patriotic banners, aggressively displaying giant signs that scream military approved and veteran financing assured. These retail establishments are not patriotic charities designed to assist struggling heroes. They are highly optimized financial traps specifically engineered to capture young service members and newly separated veterans who possess steady government pensions or permanent disability checks but suffer from fractured credit scores. These operations are known within the automotive industry as buy here pay here dealerships. They operate on a completely different business model than standard franchise lots. They do not rely on selling you a highly reliable vehicle for a modest profit margin. Instead, their primary heavily calculated revenue stream is derived from mathematically engineering a subprime loan that you will inevitably struggle to maintain, allowing them to repossess the physical asset, keep your entire down payment, and legally sell the exact same vehicle to the very next veteran who walks onto the lot. Let us deeply examine a highly detailed case study to illustrate the exact mechanical devastation of this process. Consider a United States Army combat engineer named John, who is actively navigating the brutal economic realities of 2026. Following a highly difficult transition to the civilian workforce, an unexpected medical emergency and a temporary gap in employment severely damaged his credit score, dropping his FICO rating into the low 500s. Desperate for immediate, reliable transportation to secure a highly lucrative new contracting position, John visits one of these heavily flagged, independent lots. The assigned salesperson completely ignores the actual wholesale retail value of the heavily depreciated, high-mileage sedan sitting on the pavement. Instead, the entire financial negotiation is aggressively hyper-focused on exactly how much physical cash John has in his pocket today, and the exact calendar date his monthly Veterans Affairs disability compensation is directly deposited into his checking account. John is quickly approved for the vehicle, but the underlying mathematics hidden deep within the contract are catastrophic. He signs a legally binding agreement for a vehicle worth perhaps $6,000 on the open market, but the loan is structurally locked at a 24% annual percentage rate over a grueling 60-month term, with the principal balance grossly inflated by hidden acquisition fees and mandatory dealership service contracts. The potential outcomes of John executing that specific financial document are completely disastrous. Over the course of that extended loan term, the sheer velocity of the compound interest dictates that John will ultimately pay more than triple the actual cash value of that rapidly aging vehicle. Furthermore, because these specific subprime lots systematically install hidden GPS tracking devices and remote ignition kill switches into the dashboard, the exact moment John is merely 48 hours late on his exorbitant monthly payment, the vehicle is electronically disabled in his own driveway and physically towed away by a contracted repossession agency in the middle of the night. His fragile credit score is further annihilated by the repossession, his hard-earned down payment is permanently erased, his primary means of commuting to his new civilian career is severed, and he is left carrying a massive, legally enforceable deficiency balance that the dealership will aggressively pursue through court-ordered wage garnishment. This is the exact, heavily calculated cycle of automotive poverty that systematically destroys the financial stability of thousands of American veterans every single year. To permanently break this destructive cycle, you must radically alter your strategic approach to acquiring capital when your personal credit profile is severely compromised. You must completely bypass the independent, high-risk dealership network entirely and return to the secure, highly regulated financial ecosystem specifically built to support the armed forces. Military-affiliated credit unions possess dedicated, internal underwriting departments that do not merely look at a 3-digit credit score generated by a faceless algorithm. They are trained to evaluate the entire holistic picture of your service record, your current verifiable income stability, and the specific documentable circumstances that led to the severe credit damage. While a traditional major banking institution or a captive manufacturer lender will automatically reject a subprime application in a matter of seconds, military credit unions frequently offer highly specialized credit rehabilitation auto loans designed specifically as a financial lifeline. The precise tactical execution to access these funds involves scheduling a direct, in-person or high-level phone consultation with a senior loan officer at one of these specialized institutions. You must present a meticulously documented portfolio outlining your current financial stabilization plan, including your verifiable civilian income, proof of residency, and a highly detailed, written explanation of the past negative marks on your credit report. These specific financial institutions are highly motivated to keep veterans out of the predatory hands of subprime lenders. Historical trends show that even if a military credit union cannot immediately approve you for a standard, unsecured prime auto loan, they possess alternative structural mechanisms designed to systematically rebuild your financial profile over time. They might require a significantly larger initial down payment to mitigate their institutional risk, or they might require the auto loan to be directly secured against a certificate of deposit or a specialized frozen savings account. Imagine if, instead of walking blindly onto that predatory car lot, John had proactively engaged his military credit union. They might have approved him for a much smaller, rigidly capped loan amount, restricting his purchasing power to a highly reliable older economy car from a private party or a certified pre-owned lot. The interest rate, while still slightly elevated due to his mathematical credit risk, would be strictly capped by internal credit union bylaws, often maxing out around 12 to 15%, which is mathematically half of what the predatory buy here pay here lot was legally charging. Most crucially, by making steady, flawless, on-time payments to a major institutional lender that actively reports positive data to all three major credit bureaus every single month, John is systematically and aggressively rebuilding his civilian credit profile with every single installment. This specific methodology leads to the ultimate defensive strategy for veterans who are currently trapped in existing, highly toxic subprime automotive loans, which is aggressive, methodical refinancing. If you are currently sitting in a vehicle loan with a 20% interest rate or higher, your immediate, overriding financial priority must be to escape that specific contract. You achieve this exact outcome by making flawless, highly disciplined payments for 6 to 12 consecutive months to mathematically demonstrate absolute reliability to the major credit bureaus, and then immediately returning to your military credit union to refinance the remaining principal balance at a drastically lower prime rate. The fundamental architecture of an automotive lease is entirely distinct from a traditional retail purchase contract, and understanding this mathematical divergence is absolutely critical for any veteran or active duty service member navigating the highly volatile economic realities of 2026. When you purchase a vehicle, every monthly payment systematically builds physical equity, eventually culminating in total ownership of an asset. Conversely, when you sign a lease agreement, you are essentially renting the vehicle from the manufacturer's captive finance company for a rigidly predefined period, typically 36 to 48 months. Your monthly payment is not based on the total purchase price of the vehicle, but rather on the mathematically calculated depreciation that the vehicle will experience during your specific lease term, plus a specialized interest fee known as the rent charge. This structural difference creates an incredibly seductive illusion on the dealership floor. Because you are only financing the depreciation rather than the entire metallic asset, the monthly payments on a lease will almost always appear drastically lower than a standard purchase loan for the exact same vehicle. Finance managers aggressively weaponize this lower payment to push veterans into luxury vehicles or higher trim levels that completely exceed their actual carrying capacity. To defend yourself against lease manipulation, you must master the three primary pillars of lease mathematics: the gross capitalized cost, the residual value, and the money factor. The gross capitalized cost is simply the negotiated price of the vehicle before any down payments or military rebates are applied. Just as with a traditional purchase, you must relentlessly negotiate this number down to the absolute lowest baseline before ever mentioning your military status. Once that number is locked, you systematically apply your manufacturer military cash allowance. In the context of a lease, this military rebate acts as a capitalized cost reduction, immediately driving down the total depreciation you are required to finance. The residual value is the mathematically predicted, non-negotiable value of the vehicle at the exact moment your lease contract expires. The higher the residual value, the less depreciation you pay, making the lease fundamentally cheaper. However, the most dangerous and heavily concealed trap within any lease agreement is the money factor. The money factor is the exact equivalent of an annual percentage rate on a standard loan, but it is intentionally expressed as a highly confusing, microscopic decimal point, such as 0.00125. Dealerships use this obscure metric because the vast majority of consumers, including highly disciplined military personnel, do not mathematically understand how to translate it into a recognizable interest rate. To uncover the true cost of the rent charge, you must take the exact money factor presented on the lease worksheet and multiply it by the standard industry constant of 2,400. For example, a money factor of 0.00250 multiplied by 2,400 instantly reveals a hidden annual percentage rate of exactly 6%. Historical trends demonstrate that finance managers routinely and legally inflate the base money factor provided by the manufacturer to generate massive, invisible back-end profits. If you do not perform this specific calculation right at the negotiation desk, you could be unknowingly paying a subprime interest rate on a prime lease contract. This brings us to the most critical federal safeguard available to the military community regarding automotive leases, which is the Service Members Civil Relief Act, universally known as the SCRA. For active duty personnel and mobilized reservists, the SCRA is an impenetrable, legally binding federal shield against the catastrophic early termination fees traditionally associated with breaking an automotive lease. Under standard civilian contract law, returning a leased vehicle prior to the termination date triggers devastating financial penalties that can easily equal the entire remaining balance of the contract. However, the SCRA legally forces the leasing company to completely waive all early termination fees if you receive permanent change of station orders, or if you receive deployment orders for a period of not less than 180 days. Let us examine a highly detailed case study set in the rapid operational tempo of 2026. Consider a United States Air Force captain named Marcus, currently stationed in Florida. Marcus intelligently negotiated a 36-month lease on a reliable commuter sedan, fully expecting to remain at his current duty station for the duration of the contract. However, exactly 14 months into the lease, Marcus receives sudden, highly classified orders to deploy to a forward operating base overseas for a grueling 9-month rotation. If Marcus were a civilian facing a sudden relocation, breaking that lease would cost him thousands of dollars in immediate, out-of-pocket penalties. Instead, Marcus meticulously exercises his SCRA rights. He provides the captive finance company with a formal, written notice of termination, along with a certified copy of his official military orders. He legally returns the vehicle to the designated dealership, hands over the keys, and walks away completely free of any early termination liability. The SCRA effectively neutralizes the massive geographical risk inherent in military service. However, there is a massive mathematically destructive trap that actively destroys the financial stability of newly separated veterans. The instant you are officially discharged from the military and receive your DD Form 214, you completely lose the protective umbrella of the SCRA regarding any newly signed automotive leases. The harsh reality is that the transition to civilian life is inherently chaotic and highly unpredictable. Imagine if you are a newly separated veteran who signs a rigid 36-month lease with a strict 10,000-mile-per-year limit, anticipating a short commute to a local university. 6 months later, you receive a highly lucrative civilian job offer that requires you to relocate 3 states away and commute 50 miles each direction every single day. Because you are no longer on active duty, the SCRA cannot save you. If you attempt to break the lease to buy a more practical commuter vehicle, you will face devastating civilian termination fees. If you choose to keep the leased vehicle and drive it to your new civilian career, you will systematically obliterate your contracted mileage limits. Automotive leases enforce brutal, non-negotiable financial penalties for exceeding the allotted mileage, typically charging 25 to 35 cents for every single mile driven over the limit. In this exact scenario, driving an extra 15,000 miles over the course of the contract will result in a catastrophic, unavoidable bill of nearly $4,000 the exact moment you return the vehicle to the dealership lot. Furthermore, leases include rigid wear and tear guidelines. If your transition to civilian life involves utilizing your leased truck for heavy construction contracting, any physical damage beyond standard, minimal use will be meticulously documented by an independent inspector and billed directly to you at drastically inflated dealership repair rates. For highly mobile veterans transitioning into fluid civilian careers, the mathematical rigidity of an automotive lease often represents a severe, completely unnecessary financial hazard. By deeply understanding the highly complex mechanics of capitalized cost reduction, aggressively unmasking the hidden money factor, and strictly defining the precise legal boundaries of the Servicemembers Civil Relief Act, you can accurately determine if leasing aligns with your specific operational tempo. You now possess the analytical frameworks required to evaluate traditional ownership against the heavily subsidized, but structurally rigid, leasing models. However, whether you choose to execute a high-leverage retail purchase or navigate a tightly controlled lease agreement, there is one massive, highly vulnerable financial component that we have completely ignored up until this exact moment. What happens to the vehicle currently sitting in your driveway? How do you ensure the thousands of dollars in physical equity trapped inside your current trade-in are not systematically stolen by the dealership to offset the massive military discounts you just finished negotiating? And what specific tax loopholes exist to maximize the mathematical value of your old metal? Thematically stolen by the dealership to offset the massive military discounts you just finished negotiating? And what specific tax loopholes exist to maximize the mathematical value of your old metal? The trade-in is the absolute most vulnerable phase of the entire automotive acquisition cycle, and it is precisely where the vast majority of highly disciplined consumers unwittingly surrender their hard-fought financial victories. You have spent hours meticulously researching baseline invoices, stacking your corporate military rebates, and securing your independent financing from a veteran-focused credit union. You have forced the dealership to agree to a rock-bottom, out-the-door price on the new vehicle. But if you prematurely reveal your intention to trade in your current vehicle, you instantly hand the dealership a massive, highly malleable mathematical variable that they will use to completely scramble the terms of the deal. In the automotive industry, this is known as the shell game. If a finance manager or a sales director knows they are losing money on the front end by honoring your aggressive military discounts, they will simply underallow on the actual cash value of your trade-in to claw back their profit margin. Imagine if your current vehicle has a legitimate wholesale value of $12,000. If you introduce this vehicle into the negotiation too early, the dealership might offer you a seemingly generous $8,000 off the new car, but only offer you $8,000 for your trade. You feel like a master negotiator because you secured a massive discount on the new metal, completely unaware that they just stole $4,000 of physical equity right out of your driveway. The net result is that the dealership retains their exact desired profit, and your military benefits have been effectively nullified by a mathematically engineered illusion. To permanently neutralize this specific threat, you must implement a strategy of absolute isolation. The negotiation for the new vehicle and the negotiation for your existing vehicle must be treated as two entirely separate, highly distinct financial transactions that just happen to be occurring in the exact same physical location. You must completely withhold the fact that you have a trade-in until the exact moment you have secured a legally binding, signed buyer order outlining the final out-the-door price of the new vehicle. When the salesperson inevitably asks you early in the process if you are planning to trade in your current car, you must politely but firmly deflect the question by stating that you are strictly focusing on the purchase price of the new asset today, and you have not yet decided what you are doing with your current transportation. Let us analyze a highly detailed case study set in the dynamic automotive market of 2026. Consider a United States Marine Corps veteran named Thomas, who is purchasing a new heavy-duty truck to launch a civilian logistics company. Thomas understands that information is his ultimate leverage. Before he even steps foot on a dealership lot, he executes a meticulous valuation protocol. He does not rely on arbitrary online estimates or consumer-facing pricing guides that often inflate vehicle values. Instead, Thomas leverages the highly competitive digital wholesale market. He submits his vehicle identification number, exact mileage, and highly detailed condition photos to multiple independent, nationwide vehicle purchasing platforms that generate immediate cash offers. Within hours, Thomas possesses 3 separate, legally binding cash offers to purchase his vehicle outright. The highest offer is exactly $14,500. Thomas prints this specific offer and places it in a physical folder. He has now established his absolute mathematical floor. Thomas proceeds to the dealership, negotiates a massive discount on the new truck, stacks his active-duty military rebates, and locks in the final purchase price in writing. Only then does he reveal his intention to trade in his old vehicle. The dealership appraises his car and comes back with an initial offer of $12,000. Because Thomas has mathematically isolated the transaction and possesses independent cash offers, he does not fall victim to the shell game. He simply opens his folder, presents the legally binding draft from the independent purchasing platform for $14,500, and states unequivocally that the dealership must match or beat this exact number, or he will simply sell the vehicle to the third party on his way home. The dealership is now forced to negotiate strictly on the actual cash value of the old metal, entirely separate from the military discounts applied to the new metal. But why would Thomas even bother trading the vehicle into the dealership if he already holds a valid cash offer from a third party? Why not just sell it independently and use the cash as a down payment? This brings us to one of the most powerful, highly lucrative, and legally sanctioned tax loopholes available in the vast majority of the United States. In most jurisdictions, when you trade a vehicle into a licensed dealership during the purchase of a new vehicle, you are legally entitled to a massive trade-in sales tax credit. The State Department of Revenue only taxes the mathematical difference between the price of the new vehicle and the value of your trade-in. To fully grasp the massive potential outcomes of this specific tax structure, we must break down the exact mathematics. Let us assume Thomas is buying his new truck for $50,000 in a state with a standard 7% motor vehicle sales tax. If he sells his old vehicle to a third party and brings the cash to the dealership, he will be forced to pay the 7% tax on the entire $50,000 purchase price, resulting in a mandatory tax bill of $3,500. However, by executing a direct trade-in at the dealership for his negotiated value of $14,500, the taxable footprint of the new vehicle is instantly reduced to $35,500. The 7% tax is now calculated only on this reduced amount, resulting in a new tax bill of just $2,485. By understanding and strategically leveraging this specific statutory mechanism, Thomas instantly retains over $1,000 in hard capital that would have otherwise been permanently surrendered to the state government. This tax credit often makes trading the vehicle into the dealership mathematically superior to a private party sale, even if a private buyer offers a slightly higher gross price. Historical trends prove that highly informed veterans who combine aggressively verified independent cash appraisals with the state-level trade-in tax credit consistently maximize the mathematical value of their depreciating assets. You are no longer guessing what your vehicle is worth. You are legally forcing the dealership to compete against a national wholesale market, and you are using state tax codes to artificially inflate your ultimate yield. You have successfully defended the front-end discounts, obliterated the back-end finance traps, and squeezed every last ounce of equity out of your old metal. But what happens if the mathematical reality of your current vehicle is entirely inverted? What if you are attempting to execute this flawless strategy, but a previous financial mistake or a suddenly toxic subprime loan has left you deeply underwater on your current vehicle? What happens when you owe $20,000 to a banking institution, but the absolute maximum independent cash appraisal for your vehicle is only $12,000? This terrifying scenario, known within the industry as negative equity or being upside down, is the single most destructive financial anchor a veteran can carry into a new negotiation. How do you permanently escape the suffocating weight of negative equity without rolling it directly into a brand new, highly destructive loan? And what extreme counterintuitive strategies must you deploy to survive this specific mathematical crisis? Negative equity is the silent, highly pervasive destroyer of wealth in the modern automotive market. It occurs exactly when the outstanding principal balance of your current auto loan significantly exceeds the actual physical cash value of the vehicle securing that specific loan. Historical trends dictate that this mathematical crisis is typically engineered by a combination of predatory, long-term subprime financing, which artificially slows the amortization of the principal balance, and the natural rapid depreciation curve of the automobile itself. When you walk into a franchise dealership completely underwater on your current trade-in, you are essentially carrying a highly toxic financial liability disguised as a physical asset. The most common and mathematically catastrophic solution aggressively offered by dealership finance managers is a process known within the industry as the rollover. They will enthusiastically suggest simply taking that massive chunk of negative equity and burying it deep inside the financing contract of your brand new vehicle. Let us deeply analyze the potential outcomes of this specific financial maneuver through a highly detailed case study set in the current economic landscape of 2026. Imagine if a United States Navy veteran named William currently drives a standard commuter sedan. He currently owes $22,000 to his primary lending institution, but multiple independent wholesale appraisals confirm the absolute maximum cash value of his vehicle is exactly $14,000. William is carrying exactly $8,000 of pure negative equity. He visits a local dealership to purchase a new family crossover priced at $35,000. The finance manager seamlessly and happily rolls the $8,000 of dead weight directly into the new auto loan. William is now financing $43,000 for a $35,000 asset, and this is completely ignoring mandatory state taxes, destination charges, and hidden dealership document fees. Furthermore, he will now pay compound interest on that rolled over $8,000 for the next 72 to 84 months. He is actively paying high-yield subprime interest on a vehicle he no longer possesses, mathematically ensuring he will be even more violently underwater on the new crossover the exact moment he drives it off the physical lot. This is a perpetual, highly calculated cycle of automotive debt that rapidly consumes civilian wealth. To survive this exact mathematical crisis, you must deploy extreme, deeply calculated, and often counterintuitive strategies. The absolute first, most mathematically sound defense mechanism is the tactical retreat. The automotive retail industry spends billions of dollars in highly optimized psychological marketing to convince you that purchasing a new vehicle is an immediate, unavoidable necessity. However, if your current vehicle is mechanically sound, safely operational, and capable of passing state inspection, the absolute best financial decision is almost always to completely halt the acquisition process. You must temporarily suspend your emotional desire for a new vehicle and ruthlessly attack the principal balance of your current loan. By aggressively redirecting discretionary civilian income, or strategically utilizing a small, dedicated portion of your monthly Veterans Affairs disability compensation strictly toward principal-only payments, you can rapidly accelerate the amortization schedule and mathematically force your way back to a break-even point. This requires immense, uncompromising financial discipline, but historical case studies consistently prove it is the single most effective method to permanently eradicate negative equity without incurring further collateral damage to your credit profile. However, if your current vehicle is suffering from catastrophic, unrepairable mechanical failure, or if a sudden mandatory change in your civilian career dictates an immediate requirement for highly specialized transportation, a tactical retreat is no longer a viable operational strategy. In this specific scenario, you must leverage the massive corporate manufacturer rebates we meticulously detailed in previous sections to execute a strategy known as rebate absorption. This is precisely where your verified military status provides a massive, highly exclusive mathematical advantage over the standard civilian consumer. Instead of shopping for the specific vehicle you emotionally desire, you must coldly and analytically shop for the vehicle that possesses the absolute highest combination of manufacturer-customer cash and exclusive military rebates. Imagine if William heavily pivots his strategy and targets a heavy-duty domestic pickup truck that the manufacturer is desperately trying to clear from their aging inventory. Through deep, methodical market research, William discovers this specific truck offers $6,000 in direct-to-consumer factory rebates, completely independent of the dealership discount, plus an additional $2,000 exclusive military appreciation cash allowance. By combining these highly specific incentives, William possesses exactly $8,000 in pure, non-taxable corporate capital. He successfully negotiates a massive front-end discount on the base price of the truck, isolating the negotiation exactly as we previously discussed to protect his equity. When it is time to structure the final contract, he aggressively applies that entire $8,000 rebate package directly against the $8,000 of negative equity from his heavily depreciated trade-in. The manufacturer rebates completely absorb the dead weight. William effectively neutralizes the highly toxic loan using corporate and military capital, allowing him to finance the new truck strictly at its true, negotiated cash value. If massive manufacturer rebates are completely unavailable in your specific local market due to inventory shortages or seasonal shifts, you must seriously consider the third, highly counterintuitive strategy, which is the lease wash. As we extensively covered, automotive leases are mathematically rigid contracts based strictly on financing the anticipated vehicle depreciation. While leasing is generally not recommended for high-mileage drivers or highly mobile veterans, it serves as a highly specialized, surgical tool for eradicating massive negative equity. When you roll negative equity into a standard 72-month retail purchase loan, that dead weight heavily stretches out for 6 long years, accumulating massive amounts of compound interest. Conversely, if you execute a rollover of negative equity into a rigidly structured 36-month, lease on a vehicle with an exceptionally high residual value, you are mathematically forcing the amortization of that entire dead weight into a highly compressed 3-year window. The mandatory monthly payments on this specific lease structure will be undeniably elevated, because you are aggressively paying off the past negative equity alongside the standard depreciation of the new vehicle. However, the potential outcomes of this compressed strategy are profoundly liberating for your long-term financial health. At the exact expiration of that 36-month lease contract, assuming you have strictly adhered to the mileage limitations and meticulously maintained the physical condition of the vehicle, you simply hand the keys back to the captive finance company and walk away completely clean. The negative equity is permanently and irreversibly erased from your financial profile in exactly half the time it would take on a standard retail loan. You are essentially utilizing the highly structured, non-negotiable nature of the lease contract as a mathematically enforced financial rehabilitation program to reset your automotive baseline. It is absolutely critical to note that if you execute a lease wash or any negative equity rollover, securing highly comprehensive guaranteed asset protection insurance from your independent military credit union is a strict mathematical necessity, as you are intentionally creating a massive gap between the loan balance and the vehicle value from day one. By mastering these 3 specific defense mechanisms, the tactical retreat, the massive rebate absorption, and the highly compressed lease wash, you can systematically dismantle the suffocating weight of negative equity. You are no longer trapped by past financial miscalculations or predatory lending. You are actively deploying sophisticated mathematical strategies to restore your operational leverage. You have now successfully navigated the absolute most dangerous financial hurdles of the entire automotive acquisition process. You have heavily isolated the trade-in, completely neutralized the finance office, secured highly favorable independent capital, and structurally engineered a binding contract that mathematically honors your dedicated military service. The keys are finally in your hand. The temporary transport tags are firmly secured to the vehicle. You put the transmission into drive and slowly pull off the dealership lot, breathing a massive sigh of relief. The transaction is complete. However, the exact moment the rubber tires of your newly acquired asset cross the concrete threshold of the dealership and touch the public highway, a completely new, entirely different matrix of massive financial risk instantly activates. The brutal reality of 2026 is that mathematically securing the vehicle is only the first half of the battle. How do you mathematically protect this massive, highly complex mechanical asset from catastrophic physical depreciation, deeply predatory insurance underwriting practices, and total engine failure over the next 100,000 miles? And what obscure, highly powerful federal warranty laws are major automotive manufacturers absolutely terrified you will discover? The moment those tires hit the public asphalt, your pristine, heavily negotiated asset immediately transforms into a highly vulnerable liability, completely exposed to the chaotic, hyperinflated realities of the civilian automotive ecosystem. Historical trends across the automotive sector in 2026 demonstrate that the total cost of ownership over a standard 5-year period frequently eclipses the initial purchase price of the vehicle itself. A massive percentage of this subsequent financial drain is entirely preventable, provided you understand how to navigate the deeply predatory insurance underwriting algorithms and how to weaponize specific federal legislation against abusive dealership service departments. Let us first examine the mathematical battleground of automotive insurance. When you transition out of active duty, your geographical footprint often shifts from highly secure military installations to bustling civilian metropolitan areas. Standard civilian insurance conglomerates deploy incredibly aggressive actuarial algorithms that hyper-focus on your new zip code, your daily commute distance, and your civilian credit score to determine your monthly premium. They do not factor in the immense discipline, advanced driver training, or risk mitigation skills you acquired during your military service. Consequently, many newly separated veterans experience a shocking, completely disproportionate spike in their auto insurance rates. Consider a detailed case study involving a United States Coast Guard veteran named David, navigating the turbulent insurance market of 2026. David purchases a highly reliable mid-sized pickup truck. He applies for coverage through a massive, nationally advertised civilian insurance carrier. Because David recently relocated to a densely populated urban center to pursue a civilian contracting career, and because his credit profile experienced a slight, temporary dip during his transition period, the civilian algorithm flags him as a high-risk demographic. He is quoted an astronomical premium of $350 per month. If David blindly accepts this civilian policy, He will bleed over $4,000 annually just for the legal privilege of operating his vehicle. The specific defense mechanism against this actuarial exploitation is strictly isolating your insurance profile within highly guarded, military-exclusive risk pools. Organizations such as the Armed Forces Insurance Exchange and other prominent veteran-focused mutual companies do not utilize the exact same heavily skewed algorithms as their civilian counterparts. They inherently understand that the military demographic, as a collective statistical whole, represents a profoundly lower risk profile. By pooling veterans together, these institutions completely bypass the inflated civilian risk metrics. When David redirects his application to a military-exclusive insurance provider, his military service record is heavily weighted, his advanced operational training is factored into the risk assessment, and his monthly premium instantly drops to $140. This single, highly calculated administrative pivot legally retains thousands of dollars of David wealth over the lifespan of his truck. However, securing mathematically sound insurance is only the preliminary defensive measure. The absolute greatest threat to your long-term automotive equity resides precisely back where you started, inside the physical walls of the franchise dealership, specifically within the service and parts department. Dealerships operate on a business model where the service drive generates a massive portion of the total facility revenue. To capture and monopolize your maintenance capital, service advisors deploy highly aggressive psychological tactics, heavily relying on the terrifying threat of global warranty nullification. They will look you directly in the eye and state that if you do not bring your vehicle exclusively to their highly expensive facility for every single routine oil change, tire rotation and fluid flush, your comprehensive manufacturer warranty will be instantly and permanently voided. This is a carefully engineered, highly lucrative deception. To completely dismantle this specific threat, you must deeply understand and aggressively leverage an incredibly powerful piece of federal legislation known as the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. Enacted by the United States Congress to govern consumer product warranties, this specific federal law acts as an impenetrable shield for your automotive capital. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act strictly and unequivocally prohibits manufacturers and their franchise dealerships from demanding that a consumer use a specific brand of original equipment manufacturer parts, or requiring the consumer to use a specific authorized facility for routine maintenance, as a strict condition of maintaining the warranty validity. Imagine if David decides to perform his own routine oil changes in his driveway using high-quality, aftermarket synthetic oil and independently sourced oil filters to save hundreds of dollars a year. 2 years later, his truck experiences a catastrophic, internal engine failure completely unrelated to the oil. He tows the vehicle to the local dealership for a warranty claim. The service director discovers the aftermarket oil filter, immediately denies the claim, and presents David with an estimate for an $8,000 engine replacement, claiming his independent maintenance voided the powertrain coverage. Because David understands his federal rights, he does not panic. He calmly and forcefully invokes the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. He legally reminds the service director that under federal law, the absolute burden of proof rests entirely on the dealership. The dealership must mathematically and scientifically prove that the specific aftermarket oil filter directly caused the catastrophic internal engine failure. They cannot simply deny the claim based on its mere presence. Faced with a highly educated veteran who clearly understands federal consumer protection statutes, the dealership instantly retracts their denial, processes the claim, and replaces the engine entirely at the manufacturer expense. To successfully execute this federal defense, you must treat your vehicle maintenance with the exact same rigid logistical discipline you applied during your active duty service. You must maintain a highly organized, comprehensive physical ledger of every single maintenance event. You must retain every receipt for every quart of oil, every spark plug, and every independently contracted service invoice. You must meticulously document the exact date and the precise vehicle mileage at the time of each service. This physical documentation is your absolute armor against any predatory service advisor attempting to leverage a lack of maintenance records to deny a highly expensive warranty repair. By successfully pooling your actuarial risk within military-exclusive insurance channels and weaponizing federal consumer protection laws against predatory service departments, you completely seal the perimeter around your automotive investment. You have now mastered the complete, end-to-end life cycle of the internal combustion automotive transaction. You have learned exactly how to extract maximum leverage from a deeply flawed, highly antagonistic retail system. But what happens when the very mechanical foundation of the automotive industry completely shifts beneath your feet? What happens when the standard rules of engagement we have meticulously established over this masterclass no longer mathematically apply to the new assets rolling off the assembly line? The current year is 2026, and a massive, completely disruptive paradigm shift is aggressively rendering traditional internal combustion strategies obsolete. We are talking about the highly complex, heavily subsidized, and incredibly confusing ecosystem of advanced electric vehicles. How do you aggressively stack massive federal clean energy tax credits directly on top of your exclusive military rebates? And what highly obscure Department of Energy grants exist specifically to fund the complete installation of high-voltage residential charging infrastructure for disabled veterans? In the next deep dive masterclass, we will completely rewrite the operational playbook and expose the exact mathematical loopholes required to dominate the electric vehicle revolution.